I'm mad excited about iOS 17 at this point because the leaks and rumors have been going nuts lately. There is so much that Apple is getting ready to add in this update, and I want to go over everything today. Let's start off with this report from the Wall Street Journal, in which they say Apple will be adding a first-of-its-kind journaling app to iOS 17, which I hear journal and I think this sounds boring and something I don't care about until you dive into the details here. This journal is not going to be like anything you can find on the App Store right now, because aside from being able to log your emotions and your mental health and how you're feeling, this app, because it's made by Apple, is going to have special permissions to your location and who you hang around and where you spend your time. Let me break that down. So Apple's journal app is going to have this feature called All Day People Discovery, where they keep an eye using proximity tech on who you're hanging around. Are you by yourself all day? Are you with your family all day? Are you at work with friends all day? It's going to also track your location to be like, hey man, you spent 55 hours in the office this week. Maybe you should calm the down. And additionally, the journal app, in conjunction with that data, is going to look through your messages, what you're talking about with other people, notes that you're writing about how you're feeling. I know this sounds like an invasion of privacy. It sounds terrifying, but it's all private. It's all going to stay on device. It's not getting sent anywhere else. And if there is one company in the world that I could trust and see actually be able to take all of this data, I don't know, maybe that person is Apple. Hands down, this new journal app is the most interesting rumor I've heard for iOS 17, because if you're somebody like me that has mental health struggles, I don't know. I've just never seen a company approach things from this angle and getting a holistic picture of your health with all of this data private on your device put in front of you. That feels like it could be kind of cool. Okay, I promise that's as deep as this video is getting it. Next up, I want to talk about this new report from a source over on Weibo that goes by Digital in an Instant. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm talking about a no-name source with a minimal track record, but this individual that shared new information about iOS 17 was the first person in the world weeks before the yellow iPhone 14 came out to tell us that it was coming. So I think they know a thing or two here. First of all, they tell us that the iOS 17 Control Center redesign is going to be happening. This is the second time we've heard this now, and considering that the iPhone 15 is getting a physical redesign, Apple pairing up software with the physical part makes a lot of sense. Now, before moving on with the rest of the video, I want to tell you about UPDF, who not only sponsored today's video, but has completely changed my life when it comes to document viewing, editing, annotating, and more. UPDF is available on Mac, Windows, iOS, and Android, and you can use it across all platforms with just one license. Purchasing a license will allow you to convert unlimited files forever, give you 10 gigabytes of free UPDF cloud storage, and even allow you to save without a watermark. Of course, UPDF also offers an insane amount of features. Being able to obviously read PDFs, you can also annotate them or highlight things. You can edit them and actually change what the text says and convert them to different file types entirely. For higher security, you can lock and protect PDFs with a password. You can reduce the size of PDFs if you want to slim down that file size. You can sign and organize PDFs, fill out forms, which is so incredibly useful, and most cool is being able to combine multiple PDFs into one unified file. Let me tell you straight up, this has absolutely changed my life, and it makes doing my job, which is constantly signing documents for brands like this one, so much better than before. Just for you guys, when you use my link down below, you can get 54% off a license that you'll have forever and works across all of your devices. So a huge thank you to UPDF for sponsoring. Now back to the video. Next up, the app library on the home screen is said to be getting customization finally. You will be able to do custom sorting, so you can put apps in whatever folders you want to, rather than Apple's pre-selected categories that have been extremely rigid. And then there's also a lot in this report about the lock screen, which was the big upgrade for iOS 16. But Apple is working on some refinements this year, including the ability to share lock screens. You will have further customization. It seems like that could possibly be font size changing or new fonts in general. Probably most exciting here is that live lyrics from Apple's Music app will be displayable on the lock screen for the first time ever, so you don't have to go into the Apple Music app to follow along with a song, which I can just see the aesthetic right now. Having lyrics on your lock screen is going to look really fresh. And this report also says that the Apple Music app in general is going to be getting a pretty big redesign with a bigger focus on graphics rather than the simplistic list and album view that we've gotten for a couple of years. And then there's a rumor that doesn't really fit in here that's also included that says you'll be able to adjust the flashlight to any intensity whatsoever. It's only got 3 notches for customization right now, so you'll be able to drag it kind of like the volume where there's no clicks or stops. You can just just put it whatever specific percentage you want. Yeah, this is one of those random ones, but digital in an instant was like they have to know about the flashlight upgrades, which cool, man. Also, I feel like we never talk about iPadOS 17, but great news here that Apple is finally, after a year, bringing the iOS 16 upgrades to the iPadOS 17 lock screen. So you will be able to have the widgets there, the other customization, the font sizes, the colors. I don't know why Apple always does this. They add a big feature to the iPhone and then it takes a year or two to bring it to the iPad. Like, dog, it's the same architecture. It's essentially the same software. It doesn't seem like it'd be that hard. Maybe I'm a little bit of a goofy goober here, but I feel like you could do it faster. Now, of course, this wouldn't be an iOS 17 video without talking about some leaks from Mark Gurman, and he is back with quite a few things that are going to be changing. Number one, Apple is working on some significant updates to Find My and location sharing social features. There wasn't a really clear description of what is happening here, but it sounds like if Apple's trying to make Find My more of a social network vibe where you could say what's going on and what's happening. Again, it's kind of unclear, so I don't know if I'm just misinterpreting this, but that was my take. Also, Apple's track record with social networks in general is just not been great. Anybody remember Ping? How's Ping doing? So I don't really know about that, but Gurman also tells us that Apple's working on some big changes in the Wallet app, which matches up with other information from Analyst 941, who has said that Apple is working on some car key enhancements for this year as well. Although what Gurman's talking about with the Wallet app sounds like more UI tweaks and changes, and I will say with Apple Savings being added, as well as the Apple Card and the Buy Now Pay Later service, it's getting a little bit cluttered, and it does feel like we're getting close to a redesign. The third part of this report talks about sideloading, though, and it is by far the most intriguing piece here, because Gurman reiterates that when sideloading comes to iOS 17, where you'll be able to install other app stores or directly load apps on your phone outside of the App Store for the first time ever, that is going to 100% be, without a doubt, unequivocally limited to Europe because of the regulation there. This is not a USB-C thing where they have to do it in Europe and they're bringing it to everybody. Apple is going to be restricting this to Europe pretty heavily. My first thought is, sweet, no worries, I'll just switch my location to Europe, I'll be able to sideload, or I'll use a VPN. But this is Apple we're talking about. Do you think Apple's gonna make sideloading easy or fun or accessible, considering this means they will literally be losing 15 to 30% on every single app purchase outside of the App Store? No, of course they aren't going to make it easy. So sure enough, just hours ago, we got this absolutely bonkers report from 9to5Mac that is detailing specifically the ways in which Apple is going to restrict this, and it is downright dirty what they're doing. In one of the most recent updates to iOS 16, 9to5Mac has discovered that Apple has created an entirely new back-end feature that didn't exist before, that is going to combine your GPS location, the country code from your Wi-Fi router, and information from your SIM card on top of just your general GPS to figure out where you are in the world. Meaning that if somebody like me that lives in the US wants to sideload, my device is going to know I'm in the US, the VPN will trick it, but the SIM carrier, being a US eSIM, is going to basically rat on me and say I can't sideload, which is insane. I mean, I'm not surprised. And I don't even necessarily blame Apple, because they are being forced against their will to change fundamentally how their products work. It's just a lot, man. They've spent so much time and effort in putting this feature in. Right now, it's just not enabled in iOS 16. And you know they're making this for the sideloading feature and other stuff that they're forced to do via regulation. I don't know, man. That just kind of blew my mind there. That was the first report from Gurman, though. We got a second, much more in-depth one over on Bloomberg from him that talks about Apple's plans for the health app and health features in general. First of all, noting that sometime in 2024, Apple is going to be launching a subscription service powered by AI that will give you tips on how to eat, sleep, and work out better. Kind of like a personal coach assistant that if you have certain goals will guide you on how to do that. As I mentioned though, that's not coming imminently, that is coming in 2024. What is coming this year are some upgrades in the health app, including for the first time ever, a version of the health app made specifically for iPadOS. Which, considering how much the iPad is used in clinical settings, the fact that we haven't had a health app at this point is one of those, oh, that's a weird moment. Now, there's also some new features said to be coming in the health app, and here's where things get interesting, because Gurman says the emotion mental health tracking, that's going to be built into the health app, and that Apple's new journal app is completely separate and not actually for mental health. I don't really know who to believe here. I'm a little confused, sorry. What does seem to be clear here is a new feature for tracking vision conditions like nearsightedness. Now, if somebody wears glasses and I think is farsighted, that's never something I really necessarily needed to track, because it's just kind of like you need glasses because you can't see very well. We'll see what happens with the vision tracking in the Health app. Now, something that we saw last year that Apple announced was the entirely new version of CarPlay. And Apple said in 2022 that the first vehicles with the upgraded software would be shipping in the later part of this year, 2023, which means this new version of CarPlay will be shipping with iOS 17. And Apple already revealed all the details. They say a ton of cars are on board, the first cars are coming soon, and obviously the interface looks absolutely phenomenal, from custom gauges and colors and entirely refreshed UI made for cars with big screens where they are all heading in that direction. This new version of CarPlay looks absolutely bananas. I am so excited to see it on a physical screen. I've got to know what this looks like in person, because if it looks as good as these images, like, it is going to be hard to sit in a car without this, because it just looks that good. Finally, let's talk about device support. We are still completely 50-50 on whether the iPhone 8 and iPhone 10 are getting cut off. Are they not? Are they? We don't know. There's been no updates there, but we have seen a report that doubles down saying that the original iPad Pros from 2016 and the iPad 5 from 2018 are getting cut off, which is consistent with another report that we have seen in the past. So if you are looking to get iPadOS 17 on some older iPads, Apple is deciding to cut you off at about the 5 to 7 year mark, which is a little bit early for the 5 year, but for the 7 years, I feel like you probably got a good value at this point. It also could be reflective of the new lock screen changes and some lag and stability issues on older models. They don't want to ship that. This is all launching in beta on Monday, June 5th. And guys, if you're going to SF to the event, or you just want to come hang out with me for a little bit, we are doing a live show with myself and John Prosser, Luke Miani, and Noah Rubin just a day later on Tuesday, June 6th in San Francisco. Tickets are on sale right now at geniusbargoesdark.com, and this is powered and made possible by our wonderful friends over at Clean My Mac, which makes sure your Mac is always running at top performance. So get your tickets down below, geniusbargoesdark.com. I am so excited for this event, and I can't wait to meet all of you. We're gonna have so much fun talking about iOS 17 and everything else that Apple's dropping. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you're doing well. I will catch you cool cats in my next video. Bye-bye.